Okay, we have just discussed what is inheritance, and we discussed example of the inheritance in the real world. Now let's talk about prototype chain concept. Let's look at this diagram. Let's suppose that here at the bottom there is instance of the prototype, and this instance has own properties and own methods. And this instance has its prototype. Here it is. And this prototype has its own prototype properties and prototype methods. This prototype may also have its own prototype with its own properties and methods, and so on. And this hierarchical structure is called prototype chain. What is important is that each instance knows about its prototype. But prototype doesn't know about all instances of itself. It means that relations in the prototype chain are built from bottom to up, from the instance of the prototype to the, let's say, top level prototype. Let's look at this example. In this example, we declare new variable a and assign value to it, and this value is array. And using this syntax, we in fact create instance of the array. And on the second line, we access one of the properties of this instance. And this property is length. This property is the own property of each instance of the array. But if I want to perform some actions with this array, I use higher order functions or array helper methods. And in this case, I use push method to add one element to existing array. But this method is absent in the A, that is instance of the array prototype. In this case, we move up through the prototype chain and check whether prototype has such method. And in this example, array prototype has this push method. And that's why we can call this method or invoke and get result. In this case, one more element will be added to the array. That is a prototype chain. It may happen that bottom level prototype also doesn't have requested method or property. In this case, we move one level up through the prototype chain and check whether this prototype has requested method or property. If it doesn't have, we move again one level up, and so on, until the end of the prototype chain. At the end of the prototype chain in JavaScript, there is always null, and we will talk about this in a couple of lectures. Okay, let's now quickly look at this in action, and let me switch to the console. I'll declare a new variable, const a, and I will create new empty array, like this. I have just created new instance of the array, and I can access its own property length, like this. And its length is 0. I also can access methods of the prototype. For example, I can add one more element to this array. If I'll push 1 to the array A will be updated, and now it contains one element, and its length is 1. So again, length is own property, and push is method of the array prototype. I can check this in following way. Simply enter A and expand here this array. And here you see own properties. There is numeric property 0 and one named property length, and now it is equal to 1. You also see that this A is instance of the array. If I will expand this tree further, I'll see bunch of methods that are available in the array prototype. It means that when I try to access, for example, push method of the variable a, JavaScript engine first looks at own properties of the a. Push is absent here. That's why we move up through the prototype chain and check whether or not this method is present in the array prototype. And in this case, it is present. Here it is. But what will happen if I will try to call non-existent method? For example, let's call push2 method, and I'll pass argument 2 to it. I'll get type error a.push2 is not a function. In this case, again, JavaScript engine moved through the prototype chain until the end and Finally, it found out that this method is absent. That's why I got this error. Okay, but what about this underscore underscore proto underscore underscore? What does it mean? How JavaScript knows what is the prototype of the object and how JavaScript moves up through the prototype chain? Let's talk about this in the next lecture. See you in a moment. Bye bye.